Joe Lieberman, he stayed, he's going, we're going to kick his ass out, we're going to keep him. In the beginning, we win the election, we don't need Joe Lieberman anymore. Reed goes and talks to him, takes him out in the middle of the lake, and says, hey, Freddie, okay, your work is done here, right? We're going to take away your chairmanship. He's, of course, on the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee. He's not on it, he's the chair of it, right? And then whether you want to stay in the caucus or not, that's your business. But some people talking about even taking away his ability to stay in the Democratic caucus. So then Obama comes out and says, no, let's keep Joe. Let's not be, vindictive. This is not about getting people back. It's not about payback. And, bipartisan, la, 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 la. You know how Obama rolls, right? Okay, I somewhat expect that. But here's the problem. When you do that, then you've given Joe Lieberman leverage. He knows that you're not going to kick him out of the party, so he could say, hey, you know what? If you don't let me keep my committee chairmanship, then I'll leave the party. And Obama just said that he doesn't want me to leave the party. So what are you going to do now? And in fact, that's exactly what Lieberman did. So he's playing poker, right? Now, even though Reed and a lot of Democratic senators were all huffing and puffing about how they're going to blow Lieberman over, instead, they're doing something else that is a very similar sentence, but it does not involve the word over. Okay, I want you to think about that. Have you gotten what I'm saying? All right. You had to listen carefully. Anyway, so behind the scenes, here are the people who are saying, oh, well, you know what, Joe Lieberman, not so bad. Could you, just let him keep his committee, yeah. Dick Durbin, who had come out gunslinging in the beginning. Of course. Now, look, this is not just about Joe Lieberman. I'm going to tell you afterwards, one, what I think should actually happen here, and then two, why this is so relevant, and what it might tell us about what we're going to see in the next 4 years. So Durbin, who had come out in the beginning saying, oh, we've got to get rid of Lieberman from this committee, we can't have him be a chair, he not only ran against Barack Obama here in supporting John McCain wholeheartedly, he spoke at the Republican National Convention, and he just did absolute smears connecting Obama to terrorists, etc. The worst kind of campaigning. I mean, we can't have it, right? Now he's flip-flopped and he's saying Joe's a, valuable member of the team and he's a valiant guy and la, 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 la. Of course, classic Democratic move, right? And then now Chris Dodd, apparently, according to reports, saying, no, Lieberman, man, we should keep, because they're about to have a secret vote, Democrats, to either strip him of his committee chairmanship or not to strip him, right? Now, nobody wants to see Lieberman stripped. I guarantee you that. Not even Hadassah. I'm going back to Hadassah. Why do I keep doing that? Anyway, but of the chairmanship. And now he's got other backers, Bill Nelson of Florida, of course, Ken Salazar of Colorado. These are the guys that drive me crazy, man. I tell you, of the new batch of Democrats, and by new I mean in the last 6 years, Salazar is the most frustrating. God, he looks so promising. And then every other day he goes over to the Republican side. Just maddening. Anyway, I guess he thinks, oh, I'm from a red state. Hey, dude, Colorado's not a red state anymore. Newsflash. Okay? As Limbaugh does. I have a fax. It's been sent in. Colorado's a blue state now. Now act like a damn Democrat. Anyway, so these guys all got Lieberman's back. And what's going to be the result of this? Probably Lieberman magically, miraculously, ridiculously will keep his chairmanship. Now, why am I concerned about that? Look, dude, it's not about being vindictive and be like, ha ha, yeah, it is what you get, Joe. I want to keep Lieberman in the caucus. Yeah, you know me. I can't stand Lieberman. Can't stand him, right? But I would still keep him in the Democratic caucus. Because what good does it serve us to kick him out? Yeah, maybe it helps us a little bit when he runs again in 4 years, but that's 4 years down the road. No. If he wants to vote with us a majority of the time, even though he backstabs us on a couple of things, okay, I can live with it, man. It's all right. I don't need to kick him out. In fact, the main harm that Lieberman did was he would pretend to be a Democrat and then 100% back George Bush, Dick Cheney, and John McCain in whatever warmongering that they were doing, so it would give the false appearance of bipartisanship. Now, we're past that because everybody knows Joe Lieberman is a complete Republican in foreign policy, at least, and unfortunately a lot of times in domestic policy too, right? So it's when Lieberman says, "Oh no, it's bipartisan. I agree with the Republicans." Everybody laughs out of their ass. Said another Turkish saying. When something's so ridiculous, you laugh out of your ass at it. Like, oh, but no, I'm Joe Lieberman. I'm a Democrat, and I agree with the Republicans. Really? I didn't see that coming. Oh wow, big news break, right? So I think he's lost his power to deceive the American people in that sense. So that's why making him a Republican doesn't really do us any good, I think, right? But should he keep his chairmanship? No, you don't understand. Chairmen of committees actually do things. Remember what Lieberman did that absolutely took me over the edge on him after he won his Senate seat in 2006. He lost the primary, but he won the general election. And he said, but don't worry, I'm going to be a Democrat, and I'm going to, outside of every country in the Middle East that I want to invade, outside of that issue, I'm totally with the Democrats. Then we came to Hurricane Katrina investigation. How George Bush absolutely screwed that up, gave the contracts, no-bid contracts to his buddies, as is usual. They robbed us blind. They got nothing done. And the Government Affairs Committee, the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, is the one that's supposed to investigate that. And Joe Lieberman's the chair, and he said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm in love with George Bush. I will do anything that he asked me to. He asked me to kill this perfectly legitimate investigation that the government needed, so I killed it. I slit its throat in the middle of the night. Okay? I'm here to serve my masters, Bush and Cheney. So at that point, any Democrat with half a mind should have said, no, it's over for Lieberman. We cannot have him as the chair of this committee. His role is to do the Republican bidding, the worst kind of Republican bidding. So now we're going to let him stay as the chair of that committee? You know what that committee does? It investigates problems inside the government. What Bush and Cheney did the last 8 years as an example, that's example number one, but also things that are going wrong, like bloated defense budgets and contracts that are going for Homeland Security. Government affairs, that's the whole government. Are we, funneling money to people we shouldn't because lobbyists are paying off congressmen or senators, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, this is an absolutely critical committee, and they're going to let Lieberman be the chair of it? I can't imagine anybody worse to be the chair of that committee. Hell no. Hell no. So my solution is a very simple one. Look, under no circumstances do you get to be the chair of that committee. When you said no to the Hurricane Katrina investigation, it was over for you. I don't care what you did with Obama and McCain, etc. Okay, that showed you are not an honest actor. That showed you are as deep a Republican as there is, that you want to protect Bush and Cheney and everything they've ever done wrong in government. No, you're done, okay? Now, if you'd like to stay in the Democratic caucus, I'm an open-minded dude. I always say that I was practical and pragmatic. A lot of people didn't believe me because I fought so hard against the Bush administration. But those guys were radical. I fought against them that hard because they were insane. Now, you want to stay a Democrat? Hey, Joe, that's up to you, man. You want to go over and be a Republican? Call his bluff, dude. He's not going to go over the Republican side. If he's a Republican in Connecticut, just ask Chris Shays what happens to Republicans in Connecticut. There aren't any left. He will guarantee himself that these will be the last 4 years he spends in the Senate. He's not stupid. He's not going to do that. It's all about Joe Lieberman. That is the compromise you should do. It is so obvious.